Have you ever been in a deal where someone says one thing, and that one thing just makes you say, yep, I'm in? A specific claim, a guarantee. But when does that spoken word actually cross the line and become a real, legally binding promise? Let's dive into what separates just casual talk from a commitment you can count on, because knowing that difference can change everything.
Okay, picture this. You're buying a used car, but not from just anywhere. You're at a specialist garage, and you're talking to the mechanic who lives and breathes these exact cars. She pops the hood, points, and says, "This engine was fully rebuilt 5,000 miles ago. It's going to run like a dream for you." Now, you're not a mechanic. You're relying completely on what she's telling you. So is that just a really good sales pitch? Or is it something more?
And see, this is the heart of it, right? On one side, you have the specialist who has all the knowledge. And on the other, you have the buyer, who's basically putting all their trust in that expert's hands. This gap, this imbalance of knowledge, is the absolute key to this whole thing. So this imbalance creates a really fascinating legal puzzle, one that courts have dealt with for a long, long time. Let's break down what that puzzle really is. Now, this wording, yeah, it sounds a little bit formal, I know. It's pulled right from legal principles, but it perfectly describes our car mechanic scenario, doesn't it? You've got an expert with greater knowledge talking to someone with less. So what does the law say happens in that exact moment? So here it is, the big question. Is that mechanic's claim about the engine just chatter, or did it just become a legally binding part of the deal, a term you can actually hold them to? What do you think? Well, before we get to the answer, let's explore some of the things people usually get wrong. Before we get to the real answer, it's actually super helpful to clear the air and look at what's not correct. We're going to tackle a few common myths because, honestly, understanding why they're wrong makes the right answer so much clearer. First up, the big one. So many of us think that if it's not in writing, it just doesn't count, right? Well, wrong. While getting a written contract is always a good idea for clarity, the law is totally firm on this. Spoken statements can absolutely become binding. So let's just put that myth to bed right now. Okay, next myth. What about puff? That vague, salesy exaggeration you can't really take literally. Stuff like, "This is the best car in the world." But our mechanic statement, "The engine was rebuilt 5,000 miles ago," that's not vague at all, is it? It's a specific, checkable fact. An expert stating a fact isn't just puff. So, myth busted. And finally, there's this idea that an expert statement is just, part of the conversation and probably won't be legally binding. This couldn't be more wrong. The law actually takes the exact opposite view because it recognizes that an expert's words carry a lot more weight. Okay, so we've cleared away the myths. We know it doesn't have to be in writing, we know it's not just sales puff, and it is definitely not meaningless. So what is the deciding factor? All right, let's get to the answer. And here it is. The core principle is all about that specialist knowledge. When an expert makes a factual statement to a non-expert, the law leans heavily toward treating that as a binding promise. It's pretty simple. Their words just carry more legal weight.
So why does the law do this? Well, it all comes down to fairness. The legal system sees that power imbalance in the moment. It knows that you, as the buyer, are relying on the expert's word to make a decision. So this principle basically acts like a shield, making sure deals are fair and protecting the person who puts their trust in what a specialist says.
Now, this isn't just some dusty old legal theory. This is actually a really powerful piece of knowledge for your everyday life. So let's break down what this really means for you out there in the real world. So, what's the bottom line? An expert's words have power, and you are legally entitled to rely on them. And this applies everywhere. We're talking about a jeweler guaranteeing a diamond's clarity, a tech consultant promising a server's uptime, or a financial advisor explaining an investment. When a specialist makes a specific factual claim to you, the law sees it as way more than just sales talk. It sees it as a promise. So I'll leave you with this thought. Now that you know this, the next time you're buying something from a specialist, whether it's a piece of tech or a piece of art, what specific statements are you going to listen for? And how will you hear the promises they make?